Hi, everyone. Today is Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. Welcome. I'm Jeffrey Morgan, and this is a talk I host twice a week to discuss my experiences on the path of soul transcendence. This offering is brought to you by the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness with the encouragement and support of my friend John Morton, who holds the Mystical Traveler Consciousness, which is the spiritual consciousness that does the work that we're doing here today. If you're new to the call, the format is simple. We're going to start by calling ourselves forward into the light, which is calling our awareness forward into the light of God that's already present. And then we're going to chant three Anai hues. Hue is an ancient name for God, and Anai invokes a quality of empathy and compassion. Then I'm going to play a video clip from my teacher, John Roger. And then I'm going to do a reading from Rumi, and then we can talk about whatever you would like. Let me just double check here if, yep, all right. If everybody'd like to gently close your eyelids, we'll call on the light and jump right in. Beloved Father, Mother God, we call ourselves forward into your love and light and sound. As we reach up into our higher form, we ask to be filled, surrounded, and protected by the light of the Holy Spirit, the light of the Christ. And we ask for this, Lord, with love and understanding, asking that only that which is for the highest good be brought forward at this time. We open ourselves to receive even more fully of the guidance, of the healing and the clearing of spirit. And we ask that any karma or negativity that can be lifted be taken into the highest realms of light and dispersed into the nothingness from which it came. And in its place, only the pure love, the whole Spirit, the Christ made manifest through us. And we do this gathering in the presence and under the guidance of the mystical traveler consciousness. And we ask this consciousness to remove any doubts, fears, or any negativity that would stand in the way of what's been prepared for us. And once again, we ask all of this for the highest good. Now, at this time, Lord, we ask for a special blessing of comfort, of grace, of your presence in each breath. We ask for the light to be sent to all those in need of it. We ask that all beings everywhere be filled with joy and peace. We ask for a blessing on those who are entering active transition of the physical body and the passage into spirit. We ask that their way be illuminated by the pure white light of the Christ, and guided by the sweet song of the sound current. We ask for the light to be placed with anyone, anywhere, across this planet and beyond. that may be crying out for assistance, for respite, for the knowledge that God is with us. And we are so grateful to gather as brothers and sisters in this divine consciousness, in this one accord. And we are grateful for all the blessings that you bestow, for we know that the blessings already are. And above all, we know that your will is done. And for this, we give our thanks. Berush Bishan.
Inside of us, there is a point wherein the Spirit meets that part that we call who we are. Now I'm using the word spirit and soul interchangeably here. Who you are as the being that is real and eternal has to meet at some point the being that is here that is temporary. And that point is a point of convergence, a point of concentration, a point of attention. And as soon as we hear about a spiritual thing, or a traveler, or a God, or a Savior, or a Christ, some part of us gathers inside a knowing of what that is we're talking about. Like, I know that. But if we say, what is it? You say, well, I just know, and that'll be it for today. That point of convergence is the point wherein what we call the traveler consciousness meets with your human consciousness. Those things are always together. But we don't know that because they don't move. Within that statement's a fundamental security, fundamental, where you just feel strong, secure there. And that is the knowledge that you have of knowing that that spirit's connected to a supreme type of force or being called God, if you want to call it that, or first principle. I call it that which is. And to know that that which is has always been that which is and will always be that, and you're also that hanging out.
Okay. This is a poem by Rumi. Look at love, how it tangles with the one fallen in love. Look at spirit, how it fuses with earth, giving it new life. Why are you so busy with this or that or good or bad? Pay attention to how things blend. Why talk about all the known and the unknown? See how the unknown merges into the known. Why think separately of this life and the next when one is born from the last? Look at your heart and tongue. One feels, but deaf and dumb. The other speaks in words and signs. Look at water and fire, earth and wind, enemies and friends all at once. The wolf and the lamb, the lion and the deer, far away yet together. Look at the unity of this, spring and winter manifested in the equinox. You too must mingle, my friends, since the earth and the sky are mingled just for you and me. Be like sugar cane, sweet yet silent. Don't get mixed up with bitter words. My beloved grows right out of my own heart. How much more union can there be? All right. Um, first, first, a little bit of housekeeping. If you are new to the calls or new to the movement of spiritual inner awareness or soul transcendence, I will give you preferential treatment. So make sure you indicate to me that you're new to all of that or new to one of those, and I'll push you to the front of the line. Otherwise, I'm generally going to go in the order questions are or people raise their hand. So just putting that out there. If you're one of those people, make yourself known, and I will push you to the front of the line. But otherwise, I'll jump right in. Aaron,
Hi, Jeffrey.
hi.
Um, I I would love there's really two things in particular that I would love some assistance with, but I'll just start with one. And um, I would love your assistance with coming to a place inside of myself of peace and loving in a particular karma that I'm experiencing or going through and completing.
Okay. Which karma are you referring to?
It's the kind of karma where I live a below like on the lower level and above there's kind of like wood floors and people walking with hard shoes on wood floors and particularly when I'm trying to sleep or in the middle of sleeping.
Got it. And have you explored a karma of earplugs?
Even with earplugs it jars me awake.
Gotcha. And have you explored living elsewhere?
You know, I was just last night realizing that every place in this city or in this neighborhood of cities that I've lived in over the past 20 or some years have been that similar experience, and I was just noticing the pattern of that more clearly last night. So yes, that's I think I'm moving in that direction.
Got it. So everywhere you live, you tend to have some flavor of this.
The last place I was living in before I moved into this place, it was not quite as that, but there was some aspects of that, but not quite the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one because when your basic self's real triggered by noises, or you're like very sensitive to auditory stimulus or stimuli, um, it's kind of a tough one. I will say that my godfather used to tell me a story of a friend of his when they were in the movement who had gotten this cheap apartment near a railroad tracks, and he would do his SCs with the railroad with the train going by. And my godfather at the time noticed that when they would be in group SC sessions, his ADHD would kick in and he'd start fidgeting around or doing whatever he was doing, struggling to get in there. But this guy, it didn't matter the noise, didn't matter what was going on. He would just go straight into spiritual exercises. So there might be something to be said for challenging yourself to be in a state of regardlessness, or if you can somehow get to a place where you're chanting through the noise and that the noise doesn't affect you or you can observe it, but you can very intentionally leave your body in that way. That might be something to explore. But I think what you're talking about is more 10% level concerns, which is you're living in a place physically that doesn't seem to work for your basic self too well. So you might consider a different living arrangement. I don't know that there's some great spiritual mystery all the time to the common sense of if something doesn't work for you about your living situation, go elsewhere. If it's an interpersonal dynamic, sometimes there's more of an emotional level or more of an energetic level that you can clear and work with it. But if it's just that you're living in a structure that has loud walls and loud ceiling because they designed it that way, and you're very sensitive to noise, there's this there's the whole like what John Rogers said, take care of yourself so you can help take care of others. Part of taking care of yourself might be moving out. But if you're like me and you're somewhat masochistic when it comes to like developing those capacities, maybe you experiment with the idea of just doing SCs through the noise and working with yourself so that it doesn't really matter what noise is going on. And you could even practice doing SCs, not that I'm recommending it because, who knows, but um, in like a loud coffee shop or something, just on a comfy couch in the corner, you order your coffee and then you go into SCs and just see if you can hold that focus and keep chanting regardless of the noise that's around you. Might be something to experiment with.
I really, oh,
But when it comes to like these repetitive karmic patterns, I mean, it may be that like you just told me that your last arrangement didn't have this noise component. So that leads me to believe that it may not just be a karma that's going to recur in your life. Like there are people, like there's a funny one where, anytime I lived in an apartment, there would be neighbors that would really piss off my wife and wouldn't affect me at all. I would be like, I didn't notice. And then she'd wake me up and be like, do you hear that? They're having a party. I know they're having a party, and like goes kind of ballistic on it. And she would come up with all these theories, like they were running some kind of prostitution ring, or they were doing like some kind of like modeling or something. I don't know. There was like this whole theory about what these people were doing and how it was in violation of the lease agreement or something. But it is funny because it would just keep happening. Or there was like this recurring thing, like we would always have to have bad neighbors, and then when we moved into a house, we had bad neighbors again. So it was it was kind of funny, and they would party late at night, and then it was like this whole. So I think sense of humor's another part of this because karma's funny. If you keep recreating it, it may just be a karma that you got to walk through. In which case, I would just do it. But there is a common sense level that says do what works for you. And if it works for you to stay in a place that doesn't have creaky floors over, or maybe you just always get something that's on the top floor, then you don't have to worry about your ceiling getting walked on, kind of thing. I don't know if I'm revealing great spiritual secrets to you right now, maybe just some common sense, but
I, I have seen something you described in the past. When I was when I was younger, I used these like one time on the corner of of a street where they were doing construction, like with the jackhammer,
I
and it
can't.
was one of the
It's kind of
experiences
breaking up.
that
Is
oh,
that me or is that you? I can't hear you real well.
it could be mine. It could be mine.
Okay.
Can you
So you
hear me
can add
now?
like you can add poor internet connection to your list of grievances for your living situation. That was a joke. That was a joke.
I
Try to, yeah.
I re recently during S can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah, somewhat. Try it again.
Um my SCs have been recently experiencing like instead of peace and relaxation and calmness and blissfulness in my SCs, I've been experiencing like tension and like almost like contraction in a way.
And did you get the impression from the literature that SCs is always supposed to be peaceful and pleasant for you?
I guess I I guess that was an assumption.
It's a pretty it's a pretty pretty ambitious assumption. It's not been my experience. SCs is such a powerful tool to support our spiritual process and growth and all the stuff that we do, but it doesn't always look the same. Sometimes it feels like you're running on a treadmill building light units so that you can go do soul travel when you're sleeping. Sometimes it feels like you're just burning off the karmas that you accumulated throughout the day in your subconscious, and your SEs is used to just sort of clear that. And then sometimes SCs is really hard to track, and you're like, well, did I just fall asleep? Because I feel like I shut my eyes and I disappeared somewhere and then I came back. But it doesn't really feel like sleep, but I don't really know what it is, but I just disappeared. Yeah, that's one too. SEs can be so many different things. I mean, and sometimes you might see colors, you might hear sounds. There's a whole lot of, I mean, I think that's why the most merciful thing I ever heard JR say about SCs was the only wrong way to do SCs is not to do them. I did not hear him say, if your SCs aren't peaceful, tranquil, and pleasant for you, then you're doing them wrong. I did not hear him say that once. Maybe somebody else here did. There's people on here that have been in the movement a lot longer than me, so it's possible.
I don't I
I
I get that
I
very
would,
clearly.
yeah, I would just put one foot in front of the other and keep chanting, keep listening. Sometimes I'll find that it's like sometimes I'll feel like a series of SCs is like pedaling up a big hill, and then I'll finally sit down and do one session, and I'll feel like I just felt I'm just gliding down the other side, and it feels so good, and it's just like, oh, I could do this for 3 straight hours, but like leading up to that, it was like just this grind. Or sometimes it feels like it's a battle with your mind, and your mind is saying, oh my God, there's so many more important things that you should be doing with your job, or did you leave the gas on, or weren't you supposed to go buy something at the store, and all that stuff comes flooding in. Or sometimes what'll flood in is the stupid thing you said in a conversation the other day with that person, and why did I say that, and what did they mean by it, and were they offended, and no, 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 no. And it's just over and over and over. And sometimes you shut your eyes and you're already riding high with the mystical traveler. Hopefully, I've given you enough examples to dispel any
I
notion of,
yes,
yeah.
I feel supported by that. And and I'm also something that I've been struggling with is when I'm calling in the light or I'm praying, I find myself getting stuck in habitual like calling in the light habitually, and it seems to be opening like a door for like a negativity within me or something when I do that. And I'm trying to break free into more like spontaneity or not spontaneity maybe, and when I'm calling in the light or praying.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've found that the best way to pray is to do spiritual exercises. If I actually want to talk to God,
Mm.
I do it through the sound current. Now that's if I want to get an answer, I want to actually pray. There is something to be said for prayer as a method of aligning the consciousness. Like when you pray as an invocation, in aligning the three selves and getting the consciousness focused in a very specific way to make way for a very specific energy to come forward. That can work. As far as calling in the light, my dirty little secret is in private. The way I call in the light for myself is light for the highest good of all concerned. That's all I say. I just say light for the highest good of all concerned. For me, that works. For me, that's enough. Maybe it's not enough for some. I call in the light in this group for newer people. I think it's valuable, especially as people are getting acclimated to the field of energy within which we work. It's just very helpful for them to be guided through a process of placing their attention and intention in the direction of the work that we do. And sometimes using visualization and almost a meditative process can be helpful. So I do it the way that I do it on this call because I notice that the consciousnesses on the call are a little bit more receptive. So I don't have to do as much of the lift to tune the energy of the space. So I like that. I find that very practical. I think for me, if it works, it works. So life for the highest good works for me. And at the same time, that mechanical nature can sometimes be useful just to make sure you don't leave out a couple things. So, like, for example, I want to make sure I say for the highest good of all concerned, at least in some way, uh, in me calling in the light. So I want to say something about the light and something about for the highest good of all concerned. There's a few other pieces. I really want to make sure that what I'm doing is in alignment with the mystical traveler consciousness. So for me, there is a kind of a checklist that I want to make sure I hit. And so sometimes it's useful to memorize certain words to say just to make sure I hit those points, as long as I'm saying something, right? But yeah, at the same time, we're taught that mechanical recitation in any context, whether it's chanting a name of God or whether it's chanting anything or speaking a prayer or anything, the mechanical mechanism is not of very high value to what we do. You know, JR would say things like chanting once with love and devotion and presence is worth more than chanting 1,000 times in a mechanical nature. So there is a caution to just making it a box that we tick called calling in the light. And so that's why I say it's more important for me to say light for the highest good and really actually call myself into that focus of light that I want to be in and be an expression of the light of the Holy Spirit, and that I want everything I do to be for the highest good of all concerned. And that everything, all my intention, all my will, that my will and God's will are one. So it's like if you can, it's more about intention than words. And I think that people get very mechanical, even within the context of clearing and things like that. I would often say, look, if I could clear the thing and feel better and feel the flow of loving through me just by saying hot dog repeatedly, I would do that. It doesn't matter what it sounds like. It matters if it works. And so the same thing's true. It's like, why do we chant a Nai Hugh? Well, it seems to work. It seems to tune the frequency of the room, especially when you know, there have been instances where I've called in the light in a group setting and the Anai Hugh chant was so discordant. Like the singing with what I can't handle is when somebody's just a half step off the note. It's like those tritones just reverberating through. But you know, sometimes that's an indicator that there's not an accord in the room. So it's a really, really powerful tool. One thing I just really appreciate about John Rogers' approach is always like it's about it working. It's about it being effective. We're not taught things because they're right or because they're the teachings or because they're official. It's like we're being presented with information on things that work. and then we go do that. So I think it's very good that you're aware that a mechanical approach to calling in the light doesn't seem to work for you. I think it would be more valuable for you to dispense with the words and just put your hands over your heart and have that clear intention of the light just permeating every cell, and that you place your intention on the highest good of all concern. And what is that? What is the sensation of that? What is the experience of that when there's a higher will, there's a higher action that supplants or overshadows your own intention? And what is that experience like? And if you could just have that, would you really need the words? But we do need
Thank
to
you,
be
Jeffrey.
careful.
Yeah.
Habit and addiction, if we make anything a habit, and we just need to be very, very conscious because negativity likes to play in the levels that are not conscious for us. So anytime we're on autopilot, something can happen for sure.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I really loved it. I love what you shared and the simplicity of that.
All right, man. Well, thank you. Good luck with your lovely neighbors.
Yes, thank you.
All right, man. God bless you.
God bless you.
All right, Sauls.
Hey, Jeffries. How are you?
Doing all right. How are you?
All right, I'm all right. A couple of things. The first thing is regarding my health. I I've been having this pain in my right foot for almost 2 years now. Uh, and I went to see the doctors, chiropractors. I did physical therapy, and I don't seem to be able to cure it. I think it's a combination of things. I think there's probably a neuroma in there. There may be other things. I tried, like medication, steroid shots, and it's not getting any better. It's actually getting worse.
Your,
Um,
so it's you said your foot,
my right foot, right,
right foot. Got it.
get awake at night. Um, and also when I do ACs, when I try to raise my vibration to go higher, it tends um, to hurt me as well. So I don't know if you have any. I'm sure it's comic and it's perfect.
And
And it's graceful, but if there's anything you can point me to clear that, I would appreciate. I try, clearing the way I know, using the DSS toolbox, nothing seems to be working. So
and you've already looked for like kind of the usual suspects like the plantar fasciitis and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, I see a podiatrist.
Got
So
it. So they ruled everything out and they don't know what it is.
they don't know. They keep telling me, "Oh, do an MRI, do X-rays, come back." My next step is to do a CT scan. I'm scheduled to do one next week, but so far nothing nothing conclusive.
Okay, and what part of the foot is it?
So it's towards the toes.
Okay.
It's not just the toes. It's also like the plant of the foot, but it's towards the front of the foot, maybe the toes.
Okay.
So I don't know if you have anything there. I'm kind of running options, and it's a nuisance. can barely, walk and
Hmm. Well, since you've tried everything else, I'll go ahead and take a shot and just tell you what I see. Um, I saw a time when you were a flagellator, and in an authentic sense, not in the sense of they were kind of con artists in more of the medieval period, but you were like one of the real ones where you were trying to like experience the wounds of Christ. So there were
calculators.
flagellation.
Like,
Yeah, that one. Yeah, no,
no,
not yeah, not flatulation. That's a different problem entirely. But indeed, so that it was almost like it became a thought form or a powerful wish to experience the wounds of Christ, and one of the wounds was through the feet. So part of it was um, wanting to be close to that holiness by having those wounds.
my consciousness actually. So that's a validation. Okay.
Yeah, the first one that came in was stigmata, but not in the sense that like St. Francis had it, more in the sense of almost like a psychosomatic stigmata. So there you go.
So how do I clear that?
How do you clear that? Well, you have sorry, so the location of it is it close to the toes, like kind of at the ball of the feet or no? Like the ball? No? Got it. And anywhere near like kind of the big toe thingy?
It's the second, third, and fourth toe after the big toe. Actually, in between the big toe and the small toe.
In between the
It
big.
depends. It changes, varies. It just the pain keeps going around.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know it's nerves because I don't think I have broken anything there.
No, I don't think so either. Yes. So there's a confluence of pieces there. So you have this kind of like stigmata wish combined with a propensity to store unprocessed emotions toward your motherland in your kidney meridian. And so, kidney one, the bubbling spring, is what I saw. Um, God, there's probably an acupuncturist on this call who's going to correct everything I just said. But anyway, I saw there's a there's a lot of trapped emotions, particularly related to your motherland or feeling wronged by your motherland. Huh? Huh? Not Algeria, France. Your body doesn't, your body seems to think of you as more French, to be honest.
That's where I was born. It's where I grew up. So.
Yeah, so even though you have psychic, there's psychic genetic, and then, sorry, so that's the other element is shame. So you have the psychic genetic kind of like a shame coming in through the Algerian genetic line. Your body thinks you're French and feels rejected by France. and the rejection by France is stored in the kidney meridian. And so that then has a relation to a wound that was prayed for on the foot. So there you go. There's a really weird set of things to look into.
Amazing insight. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Jeffrey. Um, that was one thing. The second thing is my father passed away a couple of weeks ago. So I went to his funeral last week, and on my way there, his brother passed away as well. Um, and his brother was much younger. He was 14 years younger, and I felt like it was kind of strange. I mean, he was actually doing something for my father. He was going to court to get. My father had a wish to be buried in his grandfather's, graveyard tomb, and he needed like an authorization from the courts. So my uncle went there, and on his way out of the court, he died like right there, had a cardiac arrest on the steps. So, it's kind of strange that these two souls decided to leave like, about the same time. And I was wondering whether you had any insight on that.
I mean, that was all I see is that that was the agreed upon timing, to be honest. I know it seems strange to you. Like the mind looks at it and sees a pattern and goes, wow, this is so peculiar considering one's younger and the whole thing. But uh, souls come in and they pick specific moments of birth in order to open up specific windows for karmic action. And one of those actions is death. And I'm sure you've heard John Roger talk about even if a person tries to commit suicide when it's not their window, when they don't have a window to drop the body, the gun will misfire. They'll not hit a vital organ. Something will happen that will prevent the death from occurring unless there is a window for that to happen. They just both happen to have windows very close by each other. That's what I mean, that's what I saw. I mean, if you see something more significant, I think you should explore it and come to your own conclusions.
I don't see anything. I was just surprised, I was just, this
Oh
is,
yeah, I mean, it's surprising, right? It's hard to anticipate that type of thing unless you can, but were they deeply connected to each other? I mean, being that many years apart, they probably really didn't have
oh,
that,
they were really two different characters. I mean, they were from different generations.
of course. Yeah. Per- Me, I'm not seeing anything like significant or unique other than they had a time to go and they went. But there's also an opportunity. I mean, even though they physically dropped the body, obviously there's opportunities for you to work with them and love them and work with the relationship with them inside of you. So nothing's lost in that sense. Like you can keep that part alive and working.
Yeah, about that, it's just, I don't think it has, I mean, I haven't really grieved. I mean, I grieved my relatives, but I don't feel like I don't think I had sunk into me yet. I mean, I was far from my father, and I didn't see him a lot. Obviously, I saw him maybe once a year. I talked to him on a weekly basis, but I probably there was like a lot of physical distance. And my father and I were very, very different people. Um, and
Yeah, it's so I work with quite a few people who do the whole grieving thing, and I don't think there's any right way to do it. I think it's just the way that whatever your consciousness needs to do, it does. I think that for people like you who already spend a lot of time apart from a person, you have less of the basic self shock, or it may hit later on. It's like that time of year that usually you would visit him, but then there's no one to visit. And then it's like that might be when it actually hits your basic self. Because usually what I've seen is when people are in a more spiritual track, say, and doing this soul transcendence thing, they don't really see death as an ending anyway. So then it becomes okay, well, if I don't really relate to death as the end or death as a bad thing or death as an anything except for a transition moment or a transference or a shifting of consciousness, then what am I really grieving? Well, oftentimes it's the basic self that has a habitual pattern or a familiarity or a comfort or a reference point, or it's the ego that defines itself sometimes in relation, you know, if you're very close to somebody, it's like, who am I without that person? And if you're really distant from somebody, some people define their identity on the basis of difference. So, who am I without that person to push against and say, I'm not them? You know? So, there's all these different levels of the consciousness that get to readjust based upon the absence of that person physically. But I don't think it's, to me, it doesn't seem crazy or off if your cycle time for grief or your process is a bit slower if you just weren't spending a lot of time with them physically. So to a large extent, in a sense, he was already passed from your life on a daily basis. So it's not like, you get what I mean?
Yeah, the thing that crossed my mind was also, I don't know if you read the book, like from Camus, Les Projets, when the Mercer, the opening scene with his mother and he feels nothing. I mean, I wasn't there, but that I wasn't in that state. I mean, I was still some.
That's a very good book, by the way. That's a really well written book. Anyway, yeah, you don't want to. You're worried that it sounds like you might be concerned that you're like blocking
And,
something or.
I'm saying that because somebody, I think a psychic, like maybe like 25 years ago, projected that on me. Like I was that kind of character. And I was like, what? So that came back to my consciousness.
But I've seen you feel things very deeply. When there is something to feel, I've seen you feel things very deeply.
I just want to make sure I don't have to, there's not anything I need to clear or.
Is it okay with you? I mean, maybe you need to clear the self-judgment on not
Right.
feeling anything,
But I do feel something. It's not like I mean, I love my dad. I mean, it's not like I didn't like him.
for
Um,
sure. But if you're complete, you're complete.
yeah,
And
I mean,
you,
I was prepared. It's not like I didn't see it coming, right? I was prepared, and I did closure with him. I went to see him in October on the way back from Italy, and I could see that he was on his way out, and we had some talks, and we went for a walk, and I did spend quality time with him. I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't regret. And the day he passed away, I actually called him. He could barely speak, but I was able to. I was probably the last person in my family to talk to him, and that feels good. It feels good that I was able to
so
talk to him.
yeah, your intuition was right and you made the contact.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think that people get real tangled up in knots about what grief needs to look like. And I think at the essence of it, grief is a love affair. That's what I've heard John Roger talk about. And for me, the key with all of it is being very, very in touch with and connected to the loving that I have for the person. So it's like rather than worrying or thinking like, am I grieving properly? It's am I really touching into the depths of the loving that is that person inside of me? And if there are anything that's blocking that or anything that is still hurting or anything that I need to say or do to complete with that person, that I'm going inside and I'm doing that. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's less about the form of the grief and more about being in touch with the loving, because ultimately that's what grief's about. I mean, do you feel like you have something to clear with all this stuff?
No, I don't.
Well,
I
that's
feel
good
like
because I feel like I'm letting you down or something. I don't have any big cosmic thing to tell you about how you're blocking your grief. I think you're doing exactly what you need to do.
no, I no, I appreciate that. Thanks for holding me, in this process. It's good to get some validation. I just want to. I think I need to clear the judgment of being aloof. I have I can be aloof at times. Um,
I think that sometimes you do have a deep sensitivity and sometimes you use your mental process to disconnect from that. And I think that you can judge that or label that, but I think it's just, are you giving yourself space to feel the feelings if they're there? And if they're not there, are you loving yourself regardless and saying, this is just how I'm doing this process. This is how I do grief.
yeah. Thanks, Jeffrey. I appreciate that. God bless.
All right. God bless you, man. Thank you. All right. Gabby.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi.
How are you?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Nervous.
Okay.
Um, I originally had one question for you, so I'll just do it. It turns into two.
Okay.
So I have a question about Christmas.
Okay.
I I love Christmas. I the spirit of Christmas, the love of Christmas, the joy of Christmas, Christmas movies, Christmas music. It touches a chord deep within me,
Hmm.
and I get emotional talking about it. But every Christmas has such a heaviness and sadness to it at the very same time. And I feel like I have to work above and beyond that darkness to stay in the light. And I don't know if it's from a past life or if it's something I'm from in this life that I've experienced at a Christmas that I'm still carrying on. And I don't know how to work with that.
Hmm.
And part two is I've had experiences for the past 3 months with my physical body. I had an experience in October where I had spoken to you about how my body scans around me and I go into like protective mode. So I had that happen. I couldn't catch it in time. And then a month later, popped out my SI joint and I'm working on my knees. I can barely bend and my knees are extremely painful. I got into Rolfing. I have to take salt baths. I just feel like my body is stiffening. And I don't know if it's that heaviness of Christmas or something completely different. I get up at 3:45. I'm like, okay, I'll do SEs. And I'm trying to let God and work through me.
Hmm.
But I've tried everything on the physical level to try and work through this. And I just can't seem to break this stiffness or heaviness that I'm carrying. And my knees are humming right now. Like they're just, I don't feel like they can support me. I have
Oh.
to, I have to support myself to get up. Like I can't even bend down and get up. So I don't know if you have anything for me on that.
And what area do you live in? Like
Um,
climate wise?
Canada, Alberta,
Oh.
minus,
You have cold there?
yep, minus 32 degrees Celsius.
Jesus, it's amazing.
I have been told that my body doesn't like the cold. And my physiotherapist just yesterday asked me if my body likes the cold because I was telling her about my experience. And I said, I don't like the cold. My body, I find the cold hard.
And how many hours of sunlight do you get a day?
7.
Now, how many hours, like, do you expose yourself to the sun in any way? Do you take walks or anything like that?
Right now, I do take walks, but right now it's really hard to get the sun, direct sunlight at this
Yeah,
time of season for us. Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of why I asked you about climate.
Mhm. I've always felt like I did should be living somewhere more tropical. I don't belong in this climate.
Yeah, your basic self agrees with you.
Okay.
Um, I think there are parts of Canada that are somewhat less frozen.
Yeah, BC area. I mean,
BC, yeah.
they're wet in the winter, so the wet cold gets to your bones, I think, is what I hear. I haven't really experienced BC in the winter.
Well, because -32 would be like very dry, actually.
Wow. Very dry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very dry. It would just like suck the moisture right out of you.
Yeah.
Um, okay. You've given me quite a doozy for the last question of the night. Um, okay, so there's a couple pieces. Firstly, you have a kind of a more of a sensitivity seasonally based on the couple pieces. The magnetic field of the planet is somewhat different. Um, like December, especially in the northern hemisphere, has a different kind of frequency than other months that you're sensitive to. Secondly, there's some seasonal emotional sensitivity based on not getting enough sunlight. And sunlight is something that actually is very nurturing to you. So part of what you're feeling as a heaviness or a sadness or is related to a physiological sensitivity to the season. Secondly, I actually saw more of a past life reference to um, a specific more of a like Yule or like more of a pagan side of things, like rebirth of the sun, that kind of thing, like the darkness before the dawn and like that kind of. So there's some deep spiritual significance for you. Again, this is more of like a basic self memory associated with a past existence, particularly in more of a pagan context.
Okay.
The whole your love of Christ and like Christmas movies and all that. I mean, who doesn't love Love Actually? Just a fabulous film. Um, I mean, you obviously are following the Christ and all of that in this lifetime. I'm just giving you, see, the thing is, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing or how you're doing it. So I'm not like, it's not that kind of thing. It's more like, um, you asked a question about the heaviness, and I'm explaining that you have some memory. It's not trauma, it's more the ritual significance of experiencing fully the darkness of life and experiencing the rebirth or overcoming of the darkness with light. So you then reproduce that pattern by creating depression and negative thought patterns and heaviness on the body. And then you demonstrate the rebirth of the sun deity when you overcome it with your positivity. So it's like, it's, I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's probably not nice to hear.
Well,
So,
interesting because this morning I stood in front of the mirror and I looked at myself and I said, you're going through a transition. And that's all
Yeah,
I said to myself and walked
Dece-
away. And I'm like, what does that
yes.
mean?
Every December is that transition for you because it's that cycle and it's that memory and that sacredness and that that process. There's something that you're doing that's making it a little bit more painful because you're editing it with your head, with your mind, and you're trying to like control it, make it wrong, do it differently, as if there's something broken.
Right.
And part of your SI joint getting popped out and all of that is you're resisting just the flow of how you work with the season. It's like there's an argument and you're losing in your SI joint.
Every December, I'm
Yeah,
losing.
every December you argue with yourself, but I think if it's almost like if you give way, you have this dichotomy that you created inside of you, the darkness and the light and the good and the bad and the joy and the sorrow and there's all these polarities. And the opportunity of working with the traveler is seeing that that consciousness runs through all of it.
Mhm.
So it's like if you were to read, have you ever read Dark Night of the Soul by St. John of the Cross?
No.
You should read that book. It's a great book. St. John of the Cross, Dark Night of the Soul. But there's this way in which you can, because you have this cycle built into your process, instead of relating to this as the heavy, shitty part of the year that you have to survive, you can relate to it as almost like where you go deep and where you go profound and where you go into a transformation. Like this is my month of metamorphosis. And you can relate to it in a sense positively. This is the time to do your forgiveness. This is the time to dust off and find those hidden judgments that you have, those hidden againstnesses, those hidden traumas. This is the time where they'll be sacrificed at the altar of unconditional loving. The Christ stands for the proposition that there is no such thing as an unhealable wound, that all wounds are healable through the love and the Holy Spirit, that all sins, all judgments, all whatever can be washed away in that sense. So I would say that like pop culture would say that this season is very much about spending lots of money and bright colors and smiling and drinking too much at your company party and all that fun stuff. But for me, December is always a very profound and quiet and contemplative time. It's a very sacred time for me. I also know that in MSIA, there's a lot of things that we specifically don't do in December, parts of December, in terms of services, in terms of activities. So it is a I think it is for me and for a lot of us, it is a time to slow down and reflect. And this was also a very sacred time because um, my understanding is, and Lauren, you'll nod if this is true, but JR received the keys to the mystical traveler in the December time frame, like started in early December. I think it was done on the 23rd or something like that. There was like some range in there. It was something like that. The 3rd to the 23rd, I think, was when it anchored. So like for what it's worth, it's not a bad thing to go deep in December. I actually think magnetically and cyclically on the planet, it is a very supportive time to go deep and feel the feelings. So I think that what you're dealing with to some extent is your own argument with the way that your process was set up with your basic self versus going, oh wow, this is my deep time.
Mhm.
You might even next year, you might even like organize a retreat that you do or something. I mean, we did Royal Road this year at Asilomar, but there are you could organize a very wonderful sacred experience for yourself during December, knowing that that's the time when your body goes, oh, all the stuff that I picked up during the year and all this stuff, this is when I'm going to go deep and release it.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I've never, I've always felt as December very deep for me, very deep and loving and spiritual. I've in the background had that other feeling, and just never, I'm just now questioning, like, why is that always repeating itself in this month for me?
Well,
So,
so that's why I'm saying I think the issue is you've been arguing with that versus going, oh, this deep thing, this other thing is part of the depth and beauty of my December. Do you understand?
yeah,
It's not the enemy, it's not the problem, it's
one.
yeah. I probably could have started with that comment now. Save me a little time. But yeah, like
All flows together.
it all flows together and it will enhance the depth of the loving. It's like when you do shadow work. It's like you start to love the unlovable in you, and then all of a sudden the love you feel even for the pleasant stuff just feels deeper and sweeter.
Mhm.
It's like it's almost like you could look at it like I am not trying to be cheesy, but it's there. So it's like pine trees, right? They're only as tall as their roots are deep, right? So you can only reach the heights of ecstasy in this season in direct proportion to your willingness to go into the depths of the places that you don't necessarily always want to go. So it's almost like if you can shift your attitude and say, this is a time when I get to start really digging. Thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to know myself and love myself that much more.
Do that.
And maybe look at some other climates because your body doesn't like the cold.
I would love that.
I mean,
Maybe even get away on a hot trip just to give my body a break. Haven't done that in a while.
I think that would help. I do think that would help. And I also think cooperating with and really digging in a positive way to your December cycle is not a bad thing either.
No, I will definitely be working on that. Thank you
And
very
love
much.
and love the process. Just love it. Be like, yeah, I'm digging deep. I'm doing it.
Well, I that's where I finally came to because I'm like, I've tried physio, I've tried chiro, I've tried Rolfing, I've tried hot baths, and I literally just when spirit comes back into my body after laying down and I wake up, no matter what time it is, I was doing SCs at 1:30 in the morning on the weekend because
Nice.
it didn't want to sleep. So I'm like, well, let's go do SCs. I've just been like, I can't fight it anymore. So I'm just
Don't
letting it
fight it. Don't fight it.
flow and
Double down.
I just hope it starts to feel better along the way.
No, but I think when you cooperate with it and you start relating to it as a blessing rather than a burden, you will enjoy that process and you'll plan around it. You'll be like, this is my party day, but this is my deep contemplative, be alone in the silence and deep feel the feelings day. And you'll start to love that.
Yeah, that's where I have to get to. I think I need to change my train of thought right now for the pain that I am currently experiencing is my blessing right now to release.
Yeah, or another way of saying it is thank you, basic self, thank you, consciousness, for revealing to me where I have work to do. I
Mhm.
never would have found this if you didn't tell me that it was there. Thank you. You see, it's just it's kind of an attitude of gratitude with your own process.
Yeah. My knees feel like there's A535 in them after you say that. It's weird.
A5, what is A535?
Oh, it's
Is
like
that
a
an
muscle
oil?
cream. It's a muscle cream you put on and it heats and cools.
Oh,
So
got it. Yeah, I was
like
like,
heats
what?
and cools your knees.
Like Tiger Balm.
Yes, Tiger Balm.
Okay, got it. It was like some Canadian icy hot or something.
Uh,
Well, anyway, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
yes, you too, Jeffrey. Blessings and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Well, that was fun. Hope you all enjoyed that. I think I'm going to call it a night and go do some honeydews. I will talk to you later. God bless you. I love you. Peace be still. The blessings already are.